This is the Commonwealth, where we feature leaders of disruptive change. Today's guest is Letura Idigima, who's an artist turned entrepreneur working to increase the access of art to the youth of her community. This is also a crossover episode with Lincoln Calling, which is a music festival taking place this weekend. Learn more at lincolncalling.com. Letura, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah.
So when I was doing research on, the different areas you work in, from being an artist with your photography to that, and you've worked in education, you're also an entrepreneur, and I came across your SoundCloud account that you're a singer, right?
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yes, yeah. And so that kind of makes you a Renaissance woman.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When was the first time you thought of yourself as creative?
Oh my gosh. Probably early high school, really.
Okay.
Or maybe even before that, maybe middle school. I joined the choir team or whatever you want, choir.
Okay.
In middle school, I was a part of the all-state girls choir. I think that's what it was called. But I think that's really when I kind of, realized girl, you're pretty creative.
Yeah. So then from there, when did you start getting into photography and the different mediums?
So I got into photography in college. I took a couple photo classes in high school, but I didn't really think much of it because it was a required class.
Of course, yeah.
So I didn't really fall in love with photography then. I was a student at UNL, studied criminal justice for 2 years. I decided to take an art class and honestly fell in love with photography during then. I just needed something different. I didn't want to write. I didn't feel like writing papers and whatever that semester. So I was well, let me just try something different.
Okay.
Took a photo class and it was on from there.
Okay,
yeah.
I love it. You are also the founder of the first Art Bus in Lincoln. Talk more about that and what is the Art Bus and what's the story behind it?
So at the time, this was about 2 years ago, I was working at Lincoln High as a behavior and special needs para. So I was working with a lot of students, little low income area, and I decided to run an after school art program for the students there. And after the semester, I reached out to the students. I was what would you like to see in your community? You guys love art. Do you feel like you have access to art? If you do have access, is it affordable? Because art is pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the students said no, I don't have art supplies at home. If I'm doing something art related, it's through the school. So that's kind of where Art Bus LNK was born. I try to figure out a way to bring art opportunities directly to students rather than having them figure out ways to come to us. In Lincoln, there's a variety of art programs in Lincoln, but they're either in clear South Lincoln or North Lincoln. There's really nothing in Central Lincoln. So I think a lot of students are missing out from the programs and opportunities, and then you have to, add costs on top of that. It gets pretty expensive. So, I figured why not create a mobile art studio and go to different parts of Lincoln, bringing art to kids.
Yeah, when you started that art program at Lincoln High, how did you see the students engage with the art? Were they willing to do so? And then what was their reaction to their first experience with a creative medium?
So, the students there, the students in the group, they were already kind of in the art scene. So they knew how to express themselves through art. But I think having, an adult figure kind of say you're good at what you do. Someone behind them saying you can make something of yourself pursuing art was definitely, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm sure that's the first time someone's done that to them.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So did you have someone like that in your life that at the point when you first got into it that said to you you're good at this, you should pursue it?
Honestly, no. My parents at the time, they were just kind of what are you doing? And my parents came to Lincoln from Nigeria, so they were big on you need to get an education, and it needs to be, somewhere in the criminal justice field or the medical field. You got to do that stuff, be successful. So, when I told them I was dropping out of school, they were kind of girl, like, what? This is not what we signed up for. This is not why we came here. But really, like, aside from like art professors, I didn't really have someone say like, oh, you know, like you could really make a career out of yourself. It was a lot of self-motivation, just, you know, getting myself to realize like this could be, I can make a career out of this. So it was a lot of like me just motivating myself. But I mean, now my parents are just extremely supportive. But yeah, I didn't have someone kind of in my field saying like, hey, like, you can do this.
Which is cool. You are that person for other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do you find motivation to pursue the creative career when without that support initially?
I am a Christian. I am big on, you know, talking to God, building my relationship with him. So it was a lot of praying, like, you know, like, this is what I want to do. How can I do this? But I relied on God and my relationship with him to kind of, you know, to boost up my confidence and make this happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then back to the bus. When did you first buy it? When did you buy it? And I guess where? How did you find the bus?
I bought the bus last October. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Some guy was selling a bus. He was planning on turning it into like a party bus, and I guess he just didn't have the time. So I was scrolling through Facebook one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my bus. Went to check it out, and it was perfect. And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much work did you have to put into the bus?
So the bus I purchased, he took the seats out, so I didn't have to worry about that. He put some flooring in. So I didn't have to do a whole lot of extensive work, but I did all of the painting, both the inside and the outside of the bus. I had to sand everything down, but it wasn't a whole lot of work this round. So I'm happy about that. There might be, you know, another bus in the future.
Yes, yeah.
So that will definitely require a whole lot of work, since it'll be me doing pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did launch go? Because like the bus is now servicing young artists, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we were planning on doing a launch party in April, but COVID hit. So we kind of had to figure out, you know, what to do and how to go about doing things. So I took a little break, but decided, you know, whatever, like, can't really do much. So we decided to do a social media launch the 14th of June, and decided to do a little like trial run over the summer. So we did a 5-week long session in different neighborhoods in Lincoln. We were at Gateway Mall, the Williamsburg Hy-Vee, the North Hy-Vee, F Street Community Church, and other locations like that, you know, trying to get a feel of how open the community really was to something like Art Bus.
Yes, yeah. It's interesting to me that like the idea stemmed out of the lack of art opportunities in central Lincoln, but but you've put a big emphasis on moving the bus throughout Lincoln and all the different areas of the community. Why is that?
Well, I mean, again, the overall goal and the main goal is to focus on low-income neighborhoods, but I didn't want to have like a stereotypical mindset. I didn't want to be like, well, you know, it's South Lincoln, they're more middle, higher class, so they can afford art opportunities, and that's not always the case. You don't know everyone's financial situation, so I didn't want to assume like we shouldn't service South Lincoln because those parents should be able to afford art opportunities for their students. So I just, you know, again, the main goal is to be in central Lincoln, but I'm wanting to service all of Lincoln, just to provide art opportunities for all kids, because you just never know their situation, you know?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You also like own and operate a wedding photography business. Mm-hmm. How has that gone with the mess of COVID over the last 6 months?
You know, it really wasn't all too bad for me. So I'm happy about that, but it was pretty stressful, just because like with COVID, you just don't know what to expect. It may be good one week and it may not be the next week. So I really felt for my brides that are having to reschedule their weddings and postpone things and have to plan a whole new wedding in the midst of all of this. But for me, like on the business side, everything has worked out. So I'm super happy about that. But
yeah, that's good to hear that it's all working out. Because like for a while, the weddings were banned. Yeah, which is, it's good to hear that like you didn't take as big of a hit as like people would maybe assume. What about weddings do you like? Like, why weddings?
Oh man, I love love. You know, I love how love and just everything about it brings people together. So being able to be a part of such a special moment for others. I mean, I love love. And weddings, it's all about love, you know? So being able to be in that field and share a moment with, a once in a lifetime moment with people is the best feeling ever.
Yes, yeah. It is a cool opportunity to like help them capture the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so Letura, last question I have for you. What value does access to art have to like the youth of our community?
Well, I am a firm believer that art is therapeutic. It heals. It's a way for kids to express themselves and not have to do it vocally. There's just something about how you can release emotions and whatever else through art. And I think it's important for kids to have that avenue, just to be able to express themselves freely and not have to figure out words to say, you know? I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm like overthinking everything.
Yeah, so I went on the radio yesterday.
Okay.
And I had the same thing. Okay. And radio's different because it's like a 2-minute slot that you have to like jam pack.
Yeah.
And I was like, I blacked out halfway through what I was saying. And so you're not giving yourself enough credit. You're speaking very articulately in general, and it is a very cool message.
Okay.
You know? So I guess, have you experienced that therapeutic element of art, and like in what way does that fit into your like mental psyche?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was in school at UNL, I felt kind of lost. I was studying criminal justice, but I was lost. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. So once I got into photography, I felt I was able to express myself and emotions and everything else through capturing the world in front of me, rather than because I mean, criminal justice, you're behind a computer, you're typing, you're doing research, you're just locked into like a room and a screen. So being able to just kind of wander and get outside and explore the world, you know, behind me was, you know, amazing for me. It's one thing to view something like in front of you, and it's another thing to, you know, actually capture what you're seeing. Photography definitely created or helped me figure out ways to express myself visually and really take a moment to capture the reality of life around me.
Yes, absolutely. It's cool that you, I guess, value that, and then you're also like, your mission is to instill that into like the next generation of creators. So Letura, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
Yes. The Commonwealth is edited by Kyle Kua, directed by Alec McChesney, and produced in partnership with KZUM Radio. Special thanks to Emmy Hernandez and Isabel Cheeseman for creative guidance. That concludes this episode. Thanks for being a member of the Commonwealth. If you enjoyed what you heard, please tap the share button and send it out to your friends and family. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We occasionally have to leave out portions of an interview. Instead of deleting them forever, we upload them to our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com to check out our profile. Your subscription helps support the show. Tap subscribe to stay updated when we release new episodes.